I actually found some footage of Cosmic Skeptic eating some meat for the first time since being a vegan.
I'm sorry.
Hey guys, so recently Cosmic Skeptic came out with a video going a little bit more in depth about his decision to not be vegan anymore. Now I have watched this video already and I must say I do disagree on a few points. I do understand where he's coming from. It sounds very reasonable most of the time, but he doesn't really address the ethical concerns head on in this video.
I expected that there would be a great deal of sadness and disappointment and hatred and anger and all of these kinds of things. So I want to be able to get back to produce.
He's not wrong in expecting that. Obviously, people who feel like you're an advocate for something, if you suddenly switch your stance on that, there's always going to be people who feel a bit betrayed, who feel like, wow, either you're a hypocrite or I went this direction because of you and now you're not going that direction. People are going to be hurt by that, of course.
I've been thinking a lot about how best to approach this whilst doing the least harm to animals and the least harm to the vegan movement as a whole. I'm still not entirely sure what that looks like. Of course, ideally you would have wanted me to just stay totally plant-based, but I'm hoping to explain some of the reasons why I didn't do that.
So what I do appreciate, Cosmic Skeptic has not gone, at least so far, he hasn't gone the whole I'm vegan right now, and then the next week I'm full-on carnivore-only diet, to hell with vegans. And then the next week after that, I'm on, fruits only or something. He's not someone, I think, who's jumping onto the fads. And I don't think that he's someone who's going to swing violently inside the other direction where it's like, oh, I was vegan for all this time, and now I'm going to just put down veganism, talk about how meat is amazing, and do that for the next 5 years.
Crucially, and I should say this from the outset, even though it should be obvious, look, I'm not some kind of nutritionist. I'm certainly not a nutritional expert.
I also really appreciate this point here. There's a lot of people who pretend to be nutritionists out there who know nothing about nutrition.
Every nutrient that's required to be healthy can be found in a plant-based diet. I think that it can. My problem is with the practicability of maintaining it for myself.
A lot of the stuff in the vegan diet is super healthy if you're making it on your own. If you are selecting the right ingredients and you're planning things well. But a lot of people, myself included, they value convenience. They value being able to have something quick, something that tastes good, So yeah, you're probably not going to have the best diet then. You can easily have a terrible diet, even though you're vegan.
So people have been asking, well, what's this magical nutrient that you can only get from an animal product that you can't get from plants? I want to clarify from the start, there isn't one.
I mean, I'm not sure if I'd agree with that actually, because, B12 is something that you're not going to get from plants really. You supplement it. It's not that big of a deal. But just to be clear here, you do need to supplement at least one thing, which is B12, if you're on a completely vegan diet.
I just want to talk to you about some of the reasons why I found it very difficult to maintain a healthy plant-based diet. I also want to clarify that I really don't know what my diet's going to look like going forwards. I don't know if I'll continue to eat these foods or whether I'll be able to abandon them again in the future. I really don't know. So I'm not trying to do an ex-vegan, anti-vegan thing. I'm not trying to come out and say, veganism did this to me.
I appreciate that he's saying that he's not trying to do this ex-vegan, anti-vegan thing. Unfortunately, this video is going to come off a little bit that way no matter what you do, because you're making a video about why you're not vegan and problems with it. And yeah, that's going to be an ex-vegan video, basically by definition.
Had a horrible experience, and this is why you shouldn't be vegan. Like, I still want to encourage people to be vegan. I still want to encourage people, of course, to care about animal suffering and to help bring about the end of factory farming.
So he clearly cares about animal suffering. I think to some extent he has some empathy for them, but there is some threshold where when it becomes this inconvenient for me, or this, I have to make this number of sacrifices, then I come before the animals. I don't make that distinction, but he clearly is. And I'd be interested in seeing his justification as to why he thinks that is okay.
Now, for most of my life, I've had a particular set of health issues, just like most people have some health issues that I must stress are unrelated to veganism. They're not caused by veganism. I had them before I was vegan. It's nothing like that. But for instance, one of the most important or relevant here is IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome.
So it's difficult. It's very difficult having these conditions, these health problems such as IBS. So I'm very sad to hear that he's had to go through that. So I do understand that, if you have this debilitating health issue, how anything that you think might improve that, you'd definitely be motivated to try. And I think if you have a belief that is standing in the way of you trying something that you think is going to make your life better, how you may ultimately have a lot of pressure on you to change that belief. I suspect something like that may have happened in Cosmic Skeptic's case.
I knew that if I was going to eat something and then go to these things, there was a good chance that I was going to run into quite a bit of trouble. And so what I would do is have a very restricted relationship to food in these instances. It meant essentially not eating or eating very minimally and safely whenever I was in one of these circumstances.
I was going to say, he doesn't look the best inside this video. It doesn't look like he hasn't been maybe eating enough.
Which, say what you like about it being easy to live healthily as a vegan, which I believe in many cases it can be and is, it is easier to not be one. I found that in practice...
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong there. It is easier to not be vegan. You just have more options, right? That does matter if you're traveling often, if you're doing talks, if you're inside. I do a lot of travel for my work. I'll go to these various different cities and things. And it is a bit of a pain sometimes to be like, okay, I can only eat at this one restaurant that's like 30 minutes away from where I'm staying. And so I have to go there each day to get this thing. And it's not even the healthiest thing in the world. There are other options around that. You can go to grocery stores and things like that. But it does take a lot more planning. It's certainly less convenient than just being someone who goes, I will eat anything. And so you can go pretty much anywhere into the world and you can eat whatever they have there locally.
I found it very difficult to know what was being caused by my diet. And crucially, as I say, this isn't something that's caused by veganism. It's not caused by a vegan diet. It would have been caused, if it was caused by my diet, by the way that I was doing this vegan diet.
I mean, I think that takes a bit of courage to admit that, you're doing something wrong with your diet. You have some consequence that comes along. You get some health condition. And to recognize that that's because you did something wrong in your life. You made poor decisions. You didn't have good self-control. These are things that people don't want to admit. And so I think it takes a lot of courage to admit that. I can easily see myself being inside a similar place to Cosmic Skeptic here at some point in the future, where I know I don't have the best diet. I know that I eat a lot of junk food. And at some point, I'm sure there's going to be health complications from that. And, if I'm honest with myself, I'll be like, well, I could have done better, but did I? No, convenience wins out most of the time.
I mean, I don't want to mention it, but I want to mention it in this context, which is that there have been various things that have happened in my personal life that at points have led to something of a mental health crisis.
I definitely feel really bad for him here. I've certainly gone through certain mental issues myself in the past. I think pretty much everyone has. Everyone has, different periods in their life, and almost everyone's gone through some sort of mental issues.
I know that people are upset and people are angry, but the amount of vitriol that I've received, I've seen people just obviously the constant DMing and the comments and people making memes and this kind of thing. And as I say, I understand that that's going to happen, but I'm just not going to let people start doing that.
I'm not sure how he's going to stop people from doing that, to be honest. I mean, if somebody's going to make a meme of you, there's not much you can do about it.
But, I mean, you don't need me to tell you that there's been a great deal of hatred and vitriol. You can see it for yourself. Of course, what you can't see is the things that people are messaging me privately. Maybe I can show some examples on the screen. It's been relentless.
So I'm going to go back and read some of these. How dare you betray the animals, Alex? You'll get what you deserve. Okay, in my book, this isn't really too bad, this particular comment. This person saying you're betraying the animals, I mean, they're kind of correct there. You'll get what you deserve is where it kind of goes over the line. To be honest, I don't agree with that. You'll get what you deserve. I think even when you're doing terrible things, half the people who do terrible things in the world never get what they deserve. So I don't know exactly where that person's coming from unless that's like a threat. Yeah, this one isn't really too bad either. It seems like it's this person saying they made this post because of you, that they, it's people like you that make them lose faith in humanity. They used to admire him, and they say, never meet your heroes. It appears to be kind of a genuine thought that this person is very disappointed that someone like you would, go back on what they thought your moral stance was. Okay, so I mean, yeah, reading down the list a little bit, there's like, some middle fingers, there's this karma will come, believe me. Yeah, those aren't nice, those are insults, but we're also talking about the freaking internet. So let's see what this other one says. This is what the animals would say if they could speak. They would tell him the sooner he effing offs himself, the better. That's not necessarily wrong. I mean, if you're an animal and you know that this guy is going to eat you into the future, if you have that context and you also have the ability to speak, you probably would say something like, I hope you die. Not particularly a crazy comment. What's this one? May this Alex get the reality of cancer and any other diseases associated with flesh eating. I know that sounds harsh, but quite frankly, tired of these ex-vegans. So tired. Yeah, that's a bit extreme there. The way how I view it is like, okay, I have a lot of people who are not vegans who I'm friends with. I don't wish them any harm. I think if anything, Cosmic Skeptic is much closer to veganism, even now with him eating animals, than most people that I know. And so I'm happy that he's at least eating less animals than most other people out there. I think that's something that, although not perfect, is far better than what the alternative is. I don't think wishing harm on people who are at least doing better than like the vast majority of people is a good strategy in any way.
It's been relentless, and sometimes from quite like established figures, like, blue tick vegan advocates.
Blue tick, so like people on Twitter. Well, I think he might be getting fooled because you can pay for that blue tick now.
The thing that I want people to be careful of here is like, how is this going to look to other people? Like, I still want to encourage people to try veganism. I still want to encourage people to join the movement against animal suffering, against factory farming. But imagine somebody's on the fence about becoming a vegan. They're not really sure whether it's going to be for them or not. And then they see what's happened here. Right? They see somebody who says, look, this wasn't working for me for various reasons, and I need to let you know about that. And seeing this kind of response.
I mean, I agree with him here, and I also disagree to a certain extent. I don't think that there's really a way of watering down the fact that the whole point is it is something wrong to eat animals. And I don't think that should be softened to be like, oh, no, it's okay. Hey, if it's not working out for you, you do you. I don't think it's okay to excuse this. So yeah, overall, I'm glad that he did make this video because I think it clarifies some things that he had made inside the community post that sort of pointed like he was going inside a more anti-vegan direction. I'm kind of just reading between the lines here. It seems like he still has a bit of conflict with his sort of ethical stance, but also that not being convenient for his current lifestyle and the health issues that he's had throughout his life. And so what has basically won out is he has decided to do something that I think he's uncomfortable with ethically. I don't think he's stating that in this video, but that is kind of the impression that I'm getting watching the video. I do hope that he does find some solutions to his health issues, that he finds some vegan options to solve his health issues. I think as much as he's got these hate-filled comments and things like that, I'm sure there's also many people who are reaching out with various resources or things that he might be able to use to help alleviate some of these problems. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I hope you've had a great time here, and I hope to see you again in the future.